What's up? It's Joleigh and welcome back to Fridays here on Daily Diabetics. This week's video theme is the pros and cons of either being on an insulin pump, a continuous glucose monitor, or being on multiple daily injections. So why don't we just get started? Alright, well, before I start this video, I just want to tell you guys that a lot of the information I am giving you guys could be very similar to the other people that have made videos this week, but I am going to hopefully share some new information about the pump I'm on as well as the continuous glucose monitor, so I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so if you guys have been following our channel for a while now, you will know that I am on the Tslim X2 insulin pump and I am also using Dexcom G6, but why don't we start talking about the pros and cons of the Tslim X2. Alright guys, so I could honestly talk all day long about the Tslim X2 insulin pump and the Dexcom G6, but I wrote myself out a list so I could hopefully stay on track and not make this video super long. So my first pro kind of goes to both the Tslim as well as the Dexcom G6, but it is less for me to carry, and that was a really big thing for me, especially when I am at work. And so having to carry around insulin pens or syringes and insulin vials, having to carry around a meter, having to carry around all this stuff was just way too much for me to carry around. And so having the Tslim has been super nice just because I don't have to have two different types of insulin and it's all just in here. I don't have to carry around pens, I don't have to carry around insulin, I don't have to carry around syringes. And then with the Dexcom, I can just see my readings on my phone, which I'd love to show you, but I can't, but I can see them also on my screen right here. And so that's really nice not having to always carry around a meter. I typically have a meter with me either in my purse, my backpack, or in my car just in case something were to happen to my Dexcom and I could not get my readings. But that is my first pro, is not having to carry around as much stuff. Alright, so the next feature of the Tslim that I'm going to talk about only relates to the Tslim X2, and if you have the Dexcom G6, so if you don't have those, then you may not know about this feature yet, but it is called the basal IQ setting, which is to help prevent lows whenever. So basically, if your pump realizes that your blood sugar is going down super fast, it will suspend your insulin and it will then make it so hopefully it will prevent your low. It does not always, if you were to take 5 units more than you were supposed to for a meal, it's not going to fix your low. You're going to have to account for those extra 5 units that you took. But if you guys can see, my blood sugar's kind of been all over the place today. But anyways, all those red lines that were on my screen, that is when the basal IQ setting kicks in. So all those red lines means that that is the time that my pump was suspended, and it, as you can see, it pretty much caught all my lows. Sorry, it times out. Anyways, it caught pretty much all my lows and it kept me in the straight line, which is really nice and super helpful for me during the night because I tend to go low in the middle of the night. The next feature that I want to talk about is extended bolus, and a lot of other pumps have this feature and it may be called something else, but on Tslim it is called an extended bolus, and I use this every single day. But you have to figure out what works best for you. So basically an extended bolus is when you take a certain amount of insulin. So if you want to take 5 units of insulin for a meal, but you only want to take half of it, so 2.5 units before your meal, and then you want to wait 30 minutes to an hour to take the other, you can do that. And you don't have to remember to take that extra 2.5 units. It will do it automatically for you on the pump, which is so helpful because I remember when I was on shots, I was always like, oh, I don't know when I'm going to eat my food at this restaurant, or I don't know when my dinner is going to be ready at home, and I know that I need to take insulin now so I don't spike, but I don't want it all because then I'm going to go low. And I would always forget because I didn't want to set a timer, but I'd always forget and then I'd spike, and then it just wasn't good. And so this feature has really helped me control my diabetes so much more. Alright, so my next pro is that the Tslim is touchscreen. So you literally just have to touch the screen and it opens it up for you. When I was on this, which is the Animus Vibe, I believe it was. Yeah, the Animus Vibe. You had to like click on here, press OK. You couldn't just go to whatever you want by clicking it. And I understand that might not be a big deal, but diabetes, if you guys have diabetes, you know it is already very, very, very time consuming. And so anything that can make any part of diabetes just a little bit easier and less time consuming is very, very nice. So with here, you had to start from 0 to go to whatever your blood sugar was. So if your blood sugar was through the roof that day in the 300s, the 400s, whatever, you had to sit here, go from 0 and go all the way up, and it was very time consuming and it just bothered me. I don't know, like, it may not bother you guys, but it really bothered me. So just being able to go like, oh, my blood sugar is at 401, then boom, I'm done, and it'll give me a correction, which I'm not really there, so I'm not going to put it at that. But I find it very, very helpful and less time consuming, which is very nice. This next feature on the pump kind of relates back to the whole diabetes is super time consuming, but I really like the feature on this pump where if you are counting carbs and you have, let's say for like your banana, you're having 15 carbs for that, so you can type in 15 carbs and then you're like, I'm also having toast, so it's another 23, and you're just going to press the add button, you're going to add 23, and then you're like, oh, I'm also going to have yogurt, and my yogurt does not have very, very many carbs, it has 5 carbs, but then I'm also going to have a glass of milk, which is 15 carbs, and you don't have to do all that math in your head, and that's a total of 58 carbs, and it just adds it up, so the calculator feature is one of my favorite features of the pump. The next feature is you can set different profiles, and I have about, I think, 5 or 6 different profiles on my pump. So basically I can have just a normal day, I can have one which is, I think, is just my name on my pump, and basically it's just a profile of how it keeps track of my insulin throughout the day and how much I'm going to take at each time. But then I also have one for when I am a counselor at camp, because I tend to go low, like really low in the 40s if I'm on my regular profile. So I'm basically taking like no insulin at camp, so I have that profile. I have a profile when I am on my period. I have a profile for when I am exercising. I have a profile for if I'm going to be on vacation, just because you tend to have some more sweets and different things like that, so I have one for that. And then I feel like I have another one, I just don't remember what it is. I think it's for like school final week, just because I get stressed and I tend to go higher, and I've been trying to play with those different settings, and I think it is really helpful because then you don't have to change one profile all the time. You can have multiple, and you can change from day to day or week to week or month to month or whatever you need to change it. It is there for you, and I find that very helpful. The next thing that I consider a pro that could also be a con is the alarms. So I do not like the fact that it has to scream when I am below 50. If my blood sugar is below 50 and it just doesn't vibrate, it drives me crazy. I understand if you are like at 40, and I guess that's just for me, just because I'm fully functioning when my blood sugar is super low, but it bothers me when I'm in the middle of class and it goes, it just, like, everybody looks at you. It's super embarrassing. So that is one feature that I am not a fan of. The one alarm that I do really, really like is that if I am not active on my pump for, I believe it's either 8 or 9 hours, then it will automatically suspend my insulin, and then it will start alarming. And that is one feature that I really like. So if I am asleep, and I am asleep for over 8-9 hours, which honestly is me a lot, then it like forces me to get up because the alarm is super, super loud. And so that is one alarm that I really like. It is a safety feature, and it is one thing that if I were not to wake up and my pump is suspended, then it probably means that I'm low, but that could also be a con because if I don't wake up to the alarm, like if I'm laying on it, then the alarm is not very loud because it's pushed between my mattress and my body, so it like makes the sound super quiet and I don't always hear it, and so sometimes it will spike my blood sugar, which is really frustrating to me. So those are the reasons that I find the alarms to be a pro but also a con, because they are honestly safety features, so you can't be angry about that, but it is sometimes super embarrassing and sometimes it is frustrating that the alarms aren't always loud enough, I guess. That is one big thing for me. Alright, so the next feature I am going to talk about that I consider a pro can also sometimes be a con for me is the rechargeable setting of the pump. I love the fact that you can recharge it, just because if you've ever tried to go and buy batteries are so expensive. It's ridiculous. We already spend so much money on our diabetes supplies that not having to pay for batteries is so nice. I am telling you, and then you don't have to remember to carry them with you all the time and things like that. And the battery on the Tslim lasts forever. I either charge it when I'm in the shower, so I always charge it at least once a day, but the battery can go a total of 7 days. I have stretched it to 10 days when I was at camp, but I do not suggest to do that. So it lasts a really long time. You do not have to charge it every day, but I personally do, just to be safe, and it's just a routine so I never forget to charge it. So I either charge it when I'm in the shower or when I'm in the car, because to go to work or to go to school for me, it's like a 45-minute to an hour drive, and so that will charge it up super quick. And when you plug it in, it takes like honestly 10-15 minutes to get it from like 25% to 100. The only reason that feature could be considered a con for me is because I have an iPhone and the charging port on this is not compatible with my iPhone, and so that is one thing that is really frustrating to me. The other part that is really frustrating to me, which it's not a big deal because it's covered by my case, but this part does not stay closed, and that bothers me. But I don't notice it because I put it in my case and you can't even see it anymore. It stays shut with the case. So those are the two only cons that I have about the charging feature of the pump, is that it's not the same charger as my iPhone, which is totally not Tslim's fault, and that the battery like cover port area, it does not stay shut anymore. Now on to the cons. I honestly don't have very many, and they're honestly not like that big of a deal. The first part is the Tslim clip that the new ones come with. Alright, this clip right here does not stay on anything. It is like super slippery metal. It doesn't have a little lip where it keeps the pump on, and so it came with a black one. I got the pink one at a like JDRF walk that Tslim was at, and so I just got one of these. I do not like this case at all. I like that you can change your site or your cartridge while it is in this case, but I do not like it because it does not stay on my pocket, and it falls out of my pocket. It does not stay on my pants. It gets, like, my site gets yanked because it does not stay on this, but that it could also be a pro because I discovered Type 1 Tactical, and they have the best cases hands down I've ever tried, and I love it. Like, they have this little lip right here if you guys can see, and it clips onto your pants, onto your pocket, whatever, and it stays on so well. It is honestly sometimes really hard to get off. They come in some great colors. They come in this, which is Tiffany blue. They come in black. They come in a super cute light pink color. They come in purple and I believe army green, and I think those are the colors that it comes in. And they have a whole bunch of different styles of cases, and they have it for Medtronic, for Animas, for Tslim. I believe they have some sort of case for the PDM for the Omnipod, so it is awesome. So if you guys are having trouble with your Tslim case or your Medtronic case or your Animas case or whatever it is, go and check out Type 1 Tactical. The next con is only one part of the site change. The site change for me for the Tslim is actually so much faster than it was for my Animus. It takes me 5 minutes or less. It's super fast. It's never been a problem for me. But the beeping that it makes when it fills my tubing is annoying. I cannot begin to tell you. It beeps like you're in a hospital room, and it's just obnoxious and ridiculous, and I don't know why it needs to beep like that. You guys have the Tslim. You know what I'm talking about. It is just absolutely awful, and I don't even know why it's part of it. I just don't. I hate it so much. So that is my one thing about the site change. Alright, so that is all my pros and cons for the Tslim X2 insulin pump. So why don't we move on to the pros and cons of the Dexcom G6. For any continuous glucose monitor, but specifically for the Dexcom G6, is I can see my numbers 24/7, and that is something that is super helpful for me. Not only can you see your numbers all the time, you can see where they're going, whether it's like a slight arrow going up, an arrow going up, or a double arrow going up, and same going down as well. And so you can base your insulin off of that, which is just super helpful because you don't always know what your blood sugar is. That was also a con for me at the beginning because I would micromanage my diabetes, and I would freak out about it all the time because I'd be looking at my screen, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it says that I'm at 145 and slight arrow going up, and I would take insulin and the next thing you knew I was an arrow going down, and it's just, sometimes you just have to let your insulin work and not always look at your number. So yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is the Share app, which I find super helpful. I don't personally use it really anymore, but I find it really helpful for like little kids, and for when I was first diagnosed, was you can have a Share app where you can let your parents, you can let your friends, your grandparents, your significant other, your boyfriend, your best friend, your girlfriend, whatever, you can have them be watching your blood sugar as well, which is really, really nice, especially for little kids. I find that super helpful because some parents are super worried about sending their kids to a sleepover or sending them to school or whatever, and they can always see their numbers on their phone and not have to worry about them as much. The next thing is the Clarity app, and I really like this app just because it allows me to always let my doctor see what is going on with my blood sugars. So even if I don't have an appointment, my doctor can pull up my Clarity account and she can see my Dexcom numbers and trends and things like that and assist me on any issues that I'm having. But it also helps me see trends, so hopefully I can catch them and work on it individually without my doctor, just because I like to try to figure that out myself. It shows you trends of when your blood sugar is typically high, when it's typically low, things like that. So I find that really helpful to find different trends to hopefully better manage your diabetes. The last thing I have to say about Dexcom, and it's only for the G6, and it's the only con I have, is that the adhesive, I feel, has gotten where it's not as sticky as it was for the G5, which drives me crazy. Okay, I use Skin Tack and it still does not want to stay on for the full 10 days, and so sometimes I have to put Expression Med on. And don't get me wrong, I love Expression Med tape, but sometimes I don't like having all that tape on me. So that's my only con. But there are things to help us stay on longer, like Expression Med, like Skin Tack, things like that. So it's honestly not a big con because it honestly stays on most of the time. It's just sometimes it doesn't like to stay on, which really drives me absolutely insane. Because I could keep my Dexcom G5 on for an entire month, but sometimes I can't even keep my G6 on for the full 10 days. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about on this video is just because we are talking so highly about all these pumps does not mean that you have to choose one of the pumps that we are talking about if you are currently looking to get on a pump or onto a CGM. You need to make sure that you do your own research. You need to make sure you talk to your endocrinologist, to your parents, to the pump reps, try to get on different trials with these insulin pumps just to be able to try them out, because it is really, really important to find the pump that works best for you, that you're going to be able to have for 4 years. Because if you guys do not know, your insurance company will only cover one pump for 4 years. So once you get on a pump, you've got to stay on that pump for 4 years before you can get a new one. So make sure you do as much research as possible to find the best fit for you. Whether having tubing or not having a tubing is a big deal. Making sure that the settings on the pump is what works best for you, that your insurance covers a certain pump or not. Just make sure you are picking the one that works best for you, and don't let anybody tell you what you are choosing is right or wrong unless it is your endocrinologist. Alright, well, that is it for this week's video. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, be sure to comment down below so I can interact with you guys, because that is one of my favorite parts about being on this channel. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell down below, because it really helps us out. Well, I'll see y'all next Friday. Bye, guys!